Hello, everybody. My name is Gordon Taft. This is the Uptown Films Podcast. Today, I'm going to be interviewing the director of the documentary for Venida for Kalief, Sisa Bueno, and also the brothers of Kalief Browder and the sons of Venida Browder, Kamal Browder and Dion Browder. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
having
having
us.
us.
It's an honor. I guess I'll start off. Like, what led you, Sisa? What led you to pursue directing this documentary on Kalief and Venida Browder?
Yeah, I mean, I when Kali passed, I think it really struck a chord with most of the city, and
Mhm.
I didn't know the Browders at this time. I was just like a regular person who was just very moved by just the amount of uh, wrongs that were related to Khalif's case.
Right.
So um, uh, and I just like it sounds cliche, but literally could not get that story out of my mind. So I just felt this inner calling
Yeah.
to pursue it. And really, or just to like listen and to learn more. And so really, it kind of started to come together for me when I saw Venita do a talk back at a school, and something. I'm a pretty intuitive person, and so something just was like, "Sisa, bring your camera," and it was interesting because like the whole place was full. There was only one seat at the very front row, and it was like in
Mm.
her eye line.
Yeah.
It's the one scene that I filmed with her. It's in the film, and it just felt like, again, guided, meant to be. And I sit there and again, still trying to sort of get to know or understand better,
Right.
what happened with Khalif and all that. And so,
Yeah.
and at that moment when she was doing the Q&A portion, she said, someone asked her, well, how do you cope with everything? And she said, oh, I write poems. I
Mhm.
said, and right there, it was like a light bulb. It was like, oh my gosh, this is the creative outlet that I can use to tell this story. Because what I didn't want to do was, if I were to do something about this,
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it in the way that I think most people are used to seeing stories like this, which is a very, and I know well intentioned for most filmmakers who make films this way, criminal justice films, in a very kind of shock and awe kind of way,
Right.
where you're doing a lot of like you're showing imagery that is very shocking and that would instill some sort of a call to action.
Mhm.
Uh, and I know that for most filmmakers that's probably well intentioned, but I think for audiences, particularly communities of color, it's very it's trauma inducing, triggering,
Yeah.
and in many ways, just it prevents that kind of call to action that I think was the real intent. And so all that in the background, I'm sitting there hearing her say that she writes poems, and I say, okay, well, this is the vehicle.
Mhm.
This is a vehicle that's gonna guide the story, the creative spine of the story that will help me make something different, or
Mhm.
find a way to tell this story in a different way with tenderness and humanity, really, and
Mhm.
just in an honest way.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I arrived to it.
Right. You want to avoid the kind of sensationalism that
Yeah.
can occur, when people depict this stuff on screen. Yeah. It's funny. Like the poems are like the beginning point to
Mhm.
basically how you found your way into that. I find that really interesting. What was the process of going about choosing someone to read the poems to narrate the film with them? Basically, like how did you go about that process?
No, the initial process was to have Venita recite her work,
Vanita
right?
reciting her work.
So that was always the intention. No one expected her to pass,
Yeah.
in 2016. So that was, we all had to adjust to that in our own
Right.
ways. Obviously, her children needed to adjust to that. I needed to give them time to adjust to that.
Right.
And then I needed to figure that out. But I mean, the poems were there. I thankfully had her permission and her blessing to use them, and I
Mhm.
just honestly had to put them to the side because I didn't want, in my way of sort of coping with it. Because I know you guys also needed time. It's like you need time to like not talk about a thing. Literally, I put them away,
Yeah.
and I didn't read the poems for years.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right, like, and when the time came, it was the very last thing that I did. The whole edit was almost done using my VO for the ones that I select. I didn't even select all of them.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I was also avoiding it to the very last minute, and because I was afraid to not pick the right ones and all that, and no, it was through. So this was like really towards the close to getting to fine cut. So we're now into. I didn't find Jasmine Mans until, oh my gosh, when was it? Summer 2024. Yeah. And and that was through another friend who's a poet as well. And she said, you know, you should really look at her Instagram and hear her voice. And the minute I heard her voice, that was it. She has a really like a really godly sound, if that makes sense, right?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And her voice is very unique.
Yeah.
And so so I knew that was the voice. And because she's a poet herself, Jasmine, then we kind of worked on a few of the poems. We read them. I selected the ones that I thought would be appropriate. We recited quite a few of them. Some of them stuck, some of them didn't, and we did a lot of takes. This was now getting into the end of 24 and 25, and did a lot of studio takes, and it was really guiding her in terms of tone and really like how I wanted her to deliver that. So it just worked out really beautifully, but it was very much like avoiding to the last minute.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. Kamal, Dion, let me see. When going about agreeing to have this documentary be done about your mother and brother, were there any reservations? What was the thought process like? Considering going about being involved with the documentary, because it's a tricky form,
Yeah. I think for me it was and first of all, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Totally.
For me, it was about being comfortable in the space, right? And I think getting to know Sisa slightly. I had an opportunity. Sisa came to my mom's house one day, and I just happened to be there. And she came into my mom's room with my brother Akeem and had a conversation with my mom. I'm not sure if that was one of the first introductions that they had, but it was one of the first introductions I've had of Sisa.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have much of a conversation with Sisa because I felt it wasn't my place. It wasn't my moment. This was her moment with my mom. And so when she left the house, I had a conversation with my mom. And I was able to get an understanding of what was the process that she was going through. So she, shared, Akeem's about to, do this project with, Sisa. And, she thinks it's a great idea to do, with my poetry and putting it out there. And I asked her, I said, well, what do you think?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would share this with Sisa, but to be honest, she shared with me that she was scared because of her poetry getting out there, right? Yeah. And how it was going to come about and things. And so one of the great parts of the end of that conversation was the comment she made about Sisa and how comfortable she felt, and that conversation alone, how it made her feel. And that's the reason why she wanted to really do it, right? Because she went through the motions of her voice being out there. And if anyone know my mom, she was always a silent woman. She wanted to hide her voice, and her poetry was her escape for that. And so for it to get out there, she was more nervous about it being out there and her voice being out there. But I think the spirit of the conversation that Sisa had really comforted her, and anything that comforted my mom comforted me. And so if my mom said Sisa was great, then Sisa was great. And so when the project started to materialize, and Sisa then came forward and started sharing a little bit more about the project with us, it was a little bit surreal because I remember it took me back to that conversation I had, and being in the house and seeing my mom write the poetry, and then she would recite some of the poetry with us and to make sure it was good, and some of the things. And so to go through that process, and as you said, to how you picked out some of the poetry, it was one of those moments for me. It was like, wow, like I can't imagine how you went through that process, because I went through her book of poetry, and it was a lot. And it was heavy and deep.
Because it wasn't even just a poems; it was her journal.
Yeah, right.
So I was reading her thoughts.
Yeah, and it's heavy, right? You're taking on that emotion, and so to be able to select that, and to round it about, when the documentary came out and I had the opportunity to hear it and see it. I mean, Sisa knows I cried the entire time of it because it was a journey, right? It's
Right.
just like Cece said, it was a journey for her, but it was a journey for me too because I had to live those moments again. But what I really appreciated in the end of it all was the collaboration with Jasmine and Cisa because she really embodied the voice of my
Yeah.
mom. And if you ever heard my mom have if you ever heard her speak, right? Just even what Cisa did at the new school, right? Got the opportunity to hear her speak. Her vocals alone just gave you the sense of poetry, just in her converse, like in the way that she was a really great orator. So for the fact that Jasmine was able to pull that together and embody that emotion that my mom felt, I think the project was really really great, and I'm really proud of how it came out, and
Yeah.
and just to be part of it, and just to be a piece of it, to be a small piece of that, it was something special.
Nice. Nice.
You're watching Uptown Films, so keep watching films Uptown.
Hey there, I'm Nicole Tay, and you're watching Uptown Films.
Hi, my name is Sean Senabrotny, and you are listening to the Uptown Films podcast.
Hi, this is Alvaro Franco, and keep making films Uptown, and please keep showing Uptown some love.
Hi, my name is Zayn Lindsay, and you're watching Uptown Films.
Hey, this is Christopher Hall. Thanks so much for listening to the Uptown Films podcast.
So Kamal, did you have any reservations about the project going in? Did you what was that like for you? Your thought process about going into it?
My thought process was, honestly, it was I didn't think nobody would want to do a movie. I mean, not a movie, a documentary, is because it's everyday stuff is what happened to my brother happens to everybody else. So it's
Yeah.
not everybody's gonna get a movie, not everybody's gonna get a documentary. So I just brushed it off.
Yeah.
So when Sisa came with the project, mind you, I was already in school.
Yeah.
This is my first time meeting her. I'm in school for digital film and media production.
Mm-hmm.
So when she heard that, she took me under her wing. I felt like the student in Karate Kid. I forgot his name.
Oh,
Daniel's son.
Yeah. I was Daniel, and Sisa was Mr. Miyagi. So it's she gave me the robes, and then not only was I working on the documentary, but she also gave me the honor of being a production assistant as well. So it's
nice.
She was giving me the knowledge, she was giving me the tools,
Mm-hmm.
plus I was giving her the tools. So it was a win-win situation for me.
Mm-hmm.
Win-win situation for both of us.
Yeah.
I give you tips on the filming, you give me the juicy details, the what went on in your life, and ever since then, I've been under her wing.
Nice birth of collaboration.
And she really made it special because she transcended from just not thinking about it from my mother's bubble, right? She got to know all of us in a different personal level, and I think it made it that much more special and comfortable for us.
That's beautiful. I mean, it's interesting, the artistry of filmmaking. It's a documentary, and with doc, of course, you're dealing with these real stories. There's this personal journey that comes along with it. It's interesting to come back to something you said earlier. Your mother being a very quiet person, and her poetry being in the film and basically being the framing device of the movie in a sense. It brings me to the idea of what things. So what are some things about your mother and also your brother that aren't in the doc that you can use to paint even bigger picture about them? Because I find it interesting. There's always things that you don't see. There's always things that you don't see in the movie. You don't. Because it's about what you're trying to say with it. It's I want to and we get to know them, but what other things? I'm curious. I know that it was kind of poorly phrased.
No, I got to phrase the question. But I'll let Kamal speak to Kalief because he was really close with him.
Mm-hmm.
He was annoying. Annoying, but it's everybody had I say in kindergarten, they used to call it a buddy system, if I'm not mistaken. So it's my brother had my sister, I had Kalief, my two older brothers had each other, and my last older brother, I guess he was a substitution.
Yeah.
So it was sometimes it's I chilled with him sometimes. I did chill with him is because it's like, yeah, we brothers, we gonna see each other every day. So it's like, I don't need to chill with you. I don't need to be around you 24/7. And that's how it pretty much was.
Yeah. So with with my mom, she was very she's the one who actually got me into to plants, right? Like one of the things my mom did, like she had a lot of outlets, right? And especially in this situation, right? When everything first happened, she created new outlets for herself. Excuse me. And one of those outlets was she would go outside and plant.
Yeah.
One of her biggest things. It was a solitude. It was something that she got into a peace with. And it was one of those places where she got inspiration for her poetry.
Nice.
A lot of her poetry came from sitting on the deck in the backyard. There was a deck in the backyard that our neighbor built for her, and a lot of the time she would spend her time planting. We would go to Home Depot and go to the plants place, and she would spend hours upon hours there. That was what she called her club.
Yeah.
She called that her club because she would love to just go at all types of hours and just get some plants. And we would go get rocks and stuff outside. She would wake us up all hours of the night, right? Come on, just all hours of the night, and she will find the biggest boulder somewhere outside of a Rite Aid or something.
Yeah.
And make us pick it up and bring it home so she can put it in her backyard and get creative. But she had multiple things that she liked to do that separated herself from a lot of the pain that she was going through. And that outlet that she had being in the backyard was one of those moments where she would just be inspired to sit and write based on that atmosphere and the environment she was in.
Nice.
And that's why the film opens and closes in that backyard.
Yeah.
It's two reasons, twofold. Obviously, Kalief left us in that space, right? On that deck. But she also, when I sat with her, she would tell me how much she loved her plants and her backyard. So I was doing a lot of filming in that backyard, and there was a lot more I could have showed, but we just ended up just doing a nice track because that's where everything happened. But it was also very important to her. So I open and close.
Yeah.
With that film, with that area.
Right. That's funny you mentioned that because it's like it brings me to like another question. Doc is like there's different. Of course, the general tools of filmmaking are in documentary too, but since it's like it's nonfiction, editing is like a big tool, and like doc is often like not always but frequently like mixed media. You get archival footage, you get all these different things, you get stills. What was your process in the edit like? Because you mentioned how you ended the movie. What was the process in the edit in terms of how to shape? It's weird to say the narrative of it, but how to shape how you express this story, this real story. Like, what was your process in the editing room, assembling footage from these different periods and
film structure is it should be intentional,
right.
And for me that's super important. This film is not a character driven film. I think for me that's my preferred way of telling stories, just because I prefer to try and make a lot of different layers and connections so that we can feel an expansion of what the inciting incident is. So this film is, about what happened to Kalief, but what does that mean for the rest of the city and for the rest of the country? And how does that expand? How does that ripple out? And so you can only, in my mind, create that kind of transcendence, which is a very key word for me. I sit with the word transcendence and resonance all the time. Those are two key words that guide who I am and what I do. And so, but for me, stylistically, cinematically, like that kind of transcendence and resonance is better told in a more vignette kind of way. We're talking about cinema now, right? And how do you express that? Because jumping through different timelines, which is what the film does, giving us different moments and kind of connecting them in a way that feels symbiotic.
Right. And they kind of comment on each other in a way.
Yes. And so that creates this feeling of interconnectedness and again, transcendence and resonance, right?
Right.
So for me, when I started thinking about the structure of the film, it has to do first with, I just had two main sources, but you can have so many, think of them as running audio tracks. And so for me, the two main sources was the verité material that we were shooting in our current timeline, 2020, whatever. And the second track that was going along, the parallel track, was the poetry interludes, right?
Yeah.
And so, but for me, cinema is not just a visual medium. It's not just a sound medium. It's also, there's another, I think it's underrated and really should be lifted up a lot more, but it's what we should also be considering is pace.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
And that's its own entity. That's its own essence that needs to sort of be held, because when we sit and watch something, we don't really know it, but we're being guided by a vibe.
Right, it's that connective tissue underneath.
Yeah, we're being guided by something.
Yeah.
And that's a pace. And it's very it's like music. Music has a pace, and it holds you and it guides you and it takes you through this journey. And film does the same thing.
Yeah.
And I also, grew up with a music background. I played violin since I was a child.
Nice.
And so for me, music and pace is like, it's very ingrained.
Right.
And so I say all that to say that, I had these two tracks that were going. The Verité is A, poetic interlude is B. And so it was going A, B, A, B, A, B. But musically or vibrationally, if you're just going A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, that's a lull. And you kind of, after a while, if you think about it, you tune out.
Right. Right.
So cinematically, I'm like, hey, well, I need another element. I need another like vibrational tone. And so then I started to think about archive. So it wasn't really like an intentional choice to do archive from the very beginning. It was more like a film structural need. And then at the same time, when I was busy on that A line, doing the verité work, following these advocates, they were always saying, well, this isn't new, all these issues are just cyclical and, all of that. So it really inspired me to say, okay, let me go into the archive and see if that's going to be that C line, that C parallel line that gives us a different vibrational tone.
Yeah.
That keeps us locked in. Right. And so, so then it worked. I mean, we found this point in 1970 where the Black Panthers and the Young Lords took over New York City jails. And in that footage, those folks at that timeline, 1970s timeline, were saying the exact same things that people were saying in 2020, whatever.
Yeah.
And so the mirroring was very clear, and it made a lot of sense to include that archive to give us a different texture, a different flavor, a different vibration to that film. So. And
it shows, like, what you're getting at, history repeats itself.
History repeats itself.
It makes me think of not congressional hearing, the city council hearing scene, and yeah, some of the same things said there are some of the same things like said in like 1970 when with all this stuff is going on with the tombs. What was it like filming the city council meeting and like stitching that together or depicting that?
I did two main ones that are in the film. I think it was interesting. I think I included them. And I think it's important to include them because most people don't go to their city council meetings. So,
yeah, it's.
I think most people just think it's something that doesn't affect them or something that they can't necessarily get involved in. And in New York in particular, it's, because New York is such a huge city. It's almost a country in and of itself. So almost even more intimidating than, say, going to a smaller town to their city council, where we've seen kind of videos of that and it seems less intimidating. Right. But to go to New York City Council feels like you're going to Congress. It's intense. It's kind of intense, So in that way, it's that was interesting, but I really felt like important to show that it's an accessible space, and it's our space, and to show that the film builds up to that final scene where there's an approval, and it shows that all the people that were on the ground, the advocates, regular folks, community folks, who were up in the rafters watching this law be passed or overturned rather, or overridden. It's just a reminder that that's our space, and that honestly, we do have like a direct line to the space and to those people there.
Totally.
And so it's a reminder.
Nice. It's beautiful. To come back to, because I keep also thinking about the poems, how like the poems like inspired you guys, and Kamal, I know you currently are studying filmmaking, and you want to. That's your path of artistry. Like, how has that informed your artistry?
What do you mean? How that informed my artistry?
Well, like your mother's poetry. Like, how has that inspired you, and how has that informed like you as an artist? And yeah, I don't know if I'm.
No, I see what you're saying. I use her poems to like use as like inspiration. It's like when I'm like at work or when I'm like on the bus, I just look out the window and it's like I just look at everything and I'm like, how would my mother see this? Like, what would my mother say? It's like I will have my Maya Angelou moments.
Yeah.
So it's like I would be thinking about her poems. I would think about my mother's poems, and I would think, if I was my mother, what would she say if she saw this? How would she write it in poem form? Or how would I write it in movie form or in idea form?
Nice.
And I just use that.
It's beautiful stuff, man.
Yeah. For me, it's well, first and foremost, it took a long time for me to be able to dive into that. But when I finally was able to do that, today in my life, what inspires me was her motivation. No matter what she did, she just kept going back to the pen, right? And
nice.
Being part of those conversations with her, and seeing how she wavered between what she wanted to do, what she didn't want to do, right? And now I'm in a place right now at my age where I'm in that space where I'm wavering and what I want to do and where I want. And so I can reference back to those moments where I get inspiration because she actually sat there and said, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit there and I'm going to write and I'm going to even if I'm going through what I'm going through, I'm going to work my hardest to get there. And so, that's my inspiration today. It drives me today to just keep my head up above water. And so if she can do it, I can do it. And so what she was able to do and what she was able to accomplish, I'm trying to inspire to do that today.
Yeah. It's inspiring, like balancing life and artistry, especially under some dire circumstances. Like it's complicated, but it's
nice life.
Yeah, man. For real. Yeah. Like to pivot, one of the interesting things about the doc, so there's two things. I guess they're kind of connected because there are two officials in government. You see Zoran Mondani, our current mayor, back when he was, I believe, a state representative.
That's right.
Yeah, and he's
state assemblyman,
right? And he's speaking truth to power. And then you see on the flip side, you see a judge who seems to like be the only legislative member in the film who actually like he basically like admits to like, yeah, people knew about how horrible the conditions of solitary confinement were. And like what was it like getting that interview? Judge Jonathan Lippman?
Yes, Judge Jonathan Lippman. He was the Chief Justice of New York.
Yeah.
State of New York, yeah.
Because that's an interesting moment to me.
Yeah, no. So the Lippman Commission, which was named after him, and it says in the film, this was, again, a ripple effect of Kalief's case. After Kalief passed, people started becoming more alarmed. De Blasio and Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito at the time felt the pressure from community to give an assessment about Rikers.
Yeah.
They approached Jonathan Lippman, who I think then was just retired from being a judge, officially Chief Justice. And I think Judge Lippman is a balanced individual. And I think they approached him because of that he would have probably judged it the most objectively as he possibly could.
Yeah.
And so what he ended up creating was what's known as the Littman Commission, which was I forget how long it lasted, probably like a year. So it was a group, a panel of folks from different backgrounds coming together and hearing testimony from community.
Yeah.
In many different, all over the boroughs, the 5 boroughs, and hearing testament from community. And then it ultimately culminated what we saw in the film in a visit to Rikers, where they finally were able to see for themselves the conditions and the severity of the situation. And again, reminder, and that, you know, for me in the film, it was important, and it is important to say that Rikers is a jail. It is not a prison, but it is acting as if it were a prison. And I just want to clarify that a jail is a holding place. It's not a place for people who are convicted. It's a place to hold people while they wait for trial.
Right.
And yes, there's some people there for like minor offenses who are convicted for minor offenses, but the majority of the purpose of jails is to hold people who are awaiting trial. So technically, everyone in a jail space, including Rikers, is innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
And so there should be no reason for a space like that that's supposed to be temporary in nature to treat detainees
absolutely
as if they were prisoners,
yeah.
guilty before, you know, conviction or whatever, guilty before trial.
Right.
You know, so they go and they see those conditions and they understand that this is a crisis and that it needs to stop.
Yeah.
And so they write this large report at the end of this process, and they recommend that Rikers needs to close. And so once Mayor de Blasio at the time receives that recommendation, he then announces in 2017 Rikers will close in 2027.
Yeah.
He uses that report to justify the closure. So it all honestly ripple effect, which is again like what really interests me as a storyteller, just really connecting those things and that resonance. You know, these things happen, and then you have these expansive results. So Jonathan, including Jonathan Littman, Judge Jonathan Littman in the film was essential. I really wanted to make sure that he was part of it, to show to show a little bit of the legislative side of what's going on, and to also just show that there are people on that side who want to do the right thing. It's hard to do the right thing. It's slow often.
Yeah. A lot of bureaucracy.
A lot of, 2 steps forward, 1 step back situation, which makes things very delayed.
Yeah.
But I think I wanted to include that because, well, first of all, that's just truthfully how it went down.
Right.
And secondly, like I think that, not everybody in this space is obstructive,
Yeah.
So some people are obstructive, no doubt.
Right.
And others, I think, are trying to do the best that they can with this slow bureaucracy.
Because, like, relatively speaking, in the movie, he's, like, maybe the most frank out of any legislator. I mean, he's the only judge we see, right?
Yeah,
but,
he's the only elected official we talk to.
Also, we see, like, during the city council hearings and some people making some excuses.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, like, he just laid it down. He's just very frank about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wanted to pivot to coming back to your mother and your brother, what they wanted to be like, what impact they made, like what is it like sharing it with younger family members?
I think the good thing about it was my niece and my nephew had an opportunity to experience not just my mother but Kalief.
Yeah.
Right. There's a story where Kalief went out his way to buy them tons and tons of Christmas gifts that they had. And the other part is my brother makes it a big thing to ensure that they know who they are. So to the the connection and the bond they had, they carry with them from what they remember, and so they call her Geeka. That was the name that they called her growing up, and so whenever we reference my mom, we reference Geeka and say, this was Geeka. Geeka did this, and so it draws them back into that connection, and we have pictures that we show them and stuff. So, what I appreciate about it is that there's memory there, so it's almost like you can sit down and still remember.
Right.
It's like, oh, I remember. Versus, well, this was, and it's a different kind of connection when the person doesn't have a relationship or didn't have a relationship versus they had some sort of a bond. So I think it's great that they still have that understanding of who they were, who they are.
Yeah.
and I think we're just going to continue to ensure that their memories stay alive within our younger generation of our family.
Beautiful.
I just cherish the memories we had. And sometimes I think about it, like sometimes if I ever think about them, like I'll throw in a movie or I'll throw in like something that my mother or my brother used to like watch.
Yeah.
If I'm ever in that mood. Like if it's like a certain movie, I'll throw it on. If I feel like I'm about to get into that crying phase, I'll put something on, or I'll go outside, or I'll just think about all the good positive things we had. I mean, we shared.
Right. Nice. Yeah, it's keep the memory alive. It's a beautiful thing to pass it on. Everybody's story. It's worth something. Yeah, I find it interesting. What was it? What do you think? Since we are discussing stories or the nature, what do you think is like the power of documentary to illuminate somebody's story versus, I guess the comparative would be like narrative film. I don't know if you have an interest in narrative film too, in terms of like approaching that as well. But specifically with doc, like what do you feel is what's the draw for you?
Yeah, I don't identify as a documentary filmmaker. I'm just a filmmaker. I've done fiction before. I actually don't like to use the word narrative for fiction because documentary is also narrative.
Right.
But no, everyone does it.
No, I feel
and, but who am I to sort of? I can't fight that fight,
But I know what you mean. It's all narratives.
It's all narrative.
Yeah.
But no, I can definitely do both, and I have, and I still would want to come back to fiction. So for doc though, the doc world, it's not for everybody, and I would say that the difference with doc is that, it's a puzzle more than a script. Yes, you can do some script writing in doc, but at the same time, because of the nature that you can constantly be filming and some new factor comes in, you have to figure out how you're going to place that.
Yeah.
When that new factor comes in and it changes the whole plan.
Right.
And so it's not for everybody in that sense. If you're not a kind of person, artist that is adaptable, then it's probably not for you. And then at the same time, and that's fine, obviously.
Yeah.
Know yourself.
Right.
And so you have that aspect of doc that's very challenging. The other aspect of doc that's very challenging is that you're dealing with real people who have their feelings.
Right.
And you always have to hold them as if they were your actors.
Yeah.
And they're not actors. These are real people with feelings and thoughts, and just really hold space and just it's always a constant factor,
Yeah.
And that's also something that has to, be held in the storyteller's mind.
Yeah.
As they go and make this edit.
Yeah.
And and as we evolve as a society, there are a lot of rules that have come into play in terms of ethics and in terms of like how you're supposed to handle folks, and so it's it's important to, it's hard, I think, for a lot of some artists to juggle all of these different things. So everything's in motion, everything's being juggled, and I think if you're not that kind of person who can handle all of those things, then doc is a very challenging medium. You know? But did I answer your question? I feel like I lost it a little bit. But
no, that was great. I mean, yeah, you know, it's a complicated thing. I mean, there's always like an ethical dimension to any form of artistry, but documentary is really interesting because it's like, I mean, there's different doc. It depends on the subject of the doc, and it's like there's different approaches. You got, of course, you know, the direct cinema approach of like Frederick Wiseman, like Robert Drew, and then you got like the kind of like the cinema verité stuff, like the Jean Rouch docs you had like in the 50s and 60s. You got the Michael Moore documentaries. It's there's all kinds of approaches, but it's complicated. I'm not going to deny. Yeah.
I can't imagine the emotions that you go through in the process.
Totally, because you're like you're living with someone's story right there. You're trying to like shape it into your vision, and also you're trying to pull the people in and telling their story and expressing that. Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. For each of you, like, what's next? What do you have going on next, artistically? Just in any sense, really. I'm gonna start with you, Sisa.
No, this film is still full time for me because the film is still being rolled out, and opportunities for broadcast are in the future, which is great. So having to prepare for that is a lot, and there's a lot of impact community work.
Right.
That's involved with documentary, which is another aspect that's different from fiction, right?
Right.
So and then there's getting involved in education, and so there's a lot still. I think for me with this project, I know it's natural for people to ask like what's next, but still it's very much still this thing for at least this year. It's still this thing for me.
Yeah. And then you bring in like question of distribution. It's a complicated thing with film in general.
Yeah, this industry in this moment is very difficult.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hey, commitment.
Okay.
All right. What about you, Kamal?
Honestly, to start my own, to get to go back to school. Hopefully, learn how to start writing scripts.
Yeah.
Start my own YouTube channel. Get my podcast up. Start like my own production company, so that way I could be in control of my own stuff.
Right.
I have the final say.
Yeah.
So it's like by 2029, I want to have, no later than 2030, I want to have like a film that I wrote or directed in Sundance. So I'm going to try to make that my dream.
Time stamping it, okay.
Nice.
Speaking it into existence.
Awesome. I love it. Dion.
Well, right now, right now I've been working on myself. So that's one, right? I think what I want to do is find myself, right? So yes, that's that. It's about finding myself, one, but also at the same time, I've been venturing into fashion like for half my life at this point, and to parallel that.
Nice style, man.
Well, thank you.
Nice stuff. Seriously.
And paralleling that, my mom, maybe a fun fact is she went to Fashion Institute Technology and graduated from there.
Nice.
And so like she was one of the inspirations for me getting into the whole fashion design and doing my own fashion thing. And so that's what I want to carry forward. That's what I've been carrying forward. And so coming soon, we'll see. It's in the works and trying to figure out what that looks like, but coming soon.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to it. Nice. So where can everybody find you guys? Like social media wise, I should clarify.
Yeah, you could follow the film at Venida Kalief on Instagram and also on TikTok.
All
right. You can find me on Instagram at that _fashion 21.
All right.
You can find me on Instagram, Capricorn EST 19XX, and you can catch me on TikTok, Prince of Prospect at Prince of Prospect.
Beautiful stuff. Once again, thanks for coming in, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
This means a lot. Yeah. Yes. Let's give it a snap outro.